Hello everybody. In today's screencast, we're going to talk about how quotations are used by authors to support a main claim or their viewpoint. So first let's review, what is a main claim? Well, first of all, it's that big main idea of the article, and basically it's what the author wants to prove. And if we want to prove something, we have to give some kind of evidence. And that's what all the main ideas of the article do. They're there to support or prove the main claim. So how does the author prove his main claim? They'll bring facts that are proven. He will sometimes tell a story of an event, or she can use a quote by an expert in the field. And that way, make the claim true. I've got facts, I've got a true story, and an expert thinks this way too. So, what do we know about quotes of experts? Well, first of all, why use them? Because they add what we call credibility, that we believe something. If an expert says it, well, then it must be true. It also shows that the claim is based on facts, because experts use facts. And how do we see a quote in a text? Well, often we see quotation marks. The quote is attributed to a specific person. We know who said it. The author gives us the context of where the quote comes from. In what situation did the expert say? And sometimes the quote is in the middle of the text, but when it's very, very long, it's often like a separate paragraph and it's indented. Let's take a look at an example of the way a quote is given. So if we look, we can see the blue shows us the context, the green shows us the person who said it, and the yellow is our quote. In his 2012 victory speech after winning his second election, we have the context. We know where he said this. President Barack Obama said, and here we have the quote. We have our quotation marks, and here we know where it began and we know where it ends. But sometimes, as I said, the quotes are very, very long. So here we have the text by the author. These are the author's words. And here we have the quotes, and we can see they're very, very long. So the author indented them and used an italics font. All of this helps the reader see, wait a second, this and this are different. What makes this different? And here we can see these are the expert's words. These are the quotes. So let's take a look at some examples of context. So here we see that the author, and this is from the article we're looking at, over 300 government officials, economists, historians, scientists, industry executives. These are experts. This is an important place. We're present for the Energy and Man Symposium, which is a kind of conference. So we know that it was an important conference where these words were said. Or, as president of Sun Oil Company, he knew the business well. He was also director of the American Petroleum Institute. This gives the man's professional credentials. We see he's an expert. He knows his business. He's not just someone. Here we have a little bit of a story. 8 years later, on a cold, clear day in March, Robert Dunlap walked the halls of the U.S. Congress. So we know it's the U.S. Congress, and we see the year, 1967. And again here, we see, but less than a year later, the American Petroleum Institute quietly received a report. So if it's a report on air pollution, Stanford Research Institute. All of this helps us see that it has credibility, that these are not just on the street people, but important people saying things in important places. But we also have to pay attention to the language. So if we look here, how does the author, not the quote, how does the author introduce the quote? His words carried an unexpected warning. So, what do we know? This is the author's telling us something. They're warning us something. He's putting in his opinion here. After his talk, Teller was asked to, and then responded. There was a question, and this is the expert's answer. And again here, his preferred answer. Its warning was very clear and direct. So the author of the article is saying something about the quote. To sum up, we have some kind of claim. For example, I believe that reading makes a person smarter and more successful. And now I have to prove it to you. So one way I can prove it to you is by using a quote by an expert. So here's my expert, Dr. Seuss. He wrote many, many, many books. And this quote, the more that you read, the more things you will know. So if we're reading, we'll get smarter. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. In other words, you'll be more successful. So I found a quote that supports my claim. So while you're reading, pay attention to the claim and then look for the supporting